Hello, and thanks everyone for joining us today on this fireside chat. My name's Amar. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm the partnerships lead here at PPC Protect. So we're going to be discussing how fraudulent ad traffic is spinning ad campaigns out of control, and basically how this sort of rinse and repeat process, what kind of effect it can have. Now, don't worry, it's not just me talking to you all this time. I have got two of the finest brains in the business with me today. So I'm going to introduce you to them right now. So we've got Pete Rawlinson. He's a CMO from PPC Protect. And we've also got Josh Little here as well, who's a senior social specialist from Incubeta. How are we doing today, chaps? Are we well?
Yeah, doing well. Doing very well. Thank you.
Yeah, all good. Thank you very much. All good.
Yeah. Good. Now, before we get stuck in, a couple of bits on housekeeping from me. So we're going to try and keep the session to about 20 minutes. I promise I'll try and control these two and bring it to an end on time if we can. It will be recorded, this session, so it will be available on demand afterwards as well. So we can send you details on how to access this afterwards if need be. And one thing to note is slightly different to like a Q&A session. What we're going to do is have a live chat box available throughout this session. So if anyone has got a question, feel free to pop it in there. There are going to be people from both PPC Protect and Incubeta available to answer your questions as we go through the session as well. So if anything pops up, please do ask, and we'll try our best to get those answered for you. The last thing is polls. So there will be a few polls popping up throughout the session. Your feedback and your sort of engagement on those would be really helpful. So yeah, please do just get involved when you see them come up as well. I think that is pretty much it from me. So let's get started. And I think I'm going to start with you today, Pete. Good place to start, I reckon, is just letting people know about click fraud prevention, really. And I suppose, what's going on in your world right now.
Yeah. Thanks, Amar. I actually have a few stats that I can share with you. We did an analysis of the amount of invalid and fraudulent traffic we were detecting across our client base. So we're actually a tech vendor that actually has a click fraud prevention solution. Here are some of the stats that we've collated over the past 12 months. And as you can see, the stats look pretty staggering. This is across about 1,000 clients that we have globally. And this is just on Google search as a one paid acquisition channel. Obviously, as you can see, there are some pretty significant impacts that are being made by fraudulent and invalid traffic. And it's no wonder that I think very recently, online fraud has become the number one source of profitable revenue for organized crime. It's just overtaken the drug trade, and it's much less risky than any other ways of generating revenue. So these nefarious characters are well motivated to become very sophisticated in mimicking human behavior, clicking on ads and wasting your ad spend. What I guess is most concerning in these numbers is from 20 to 21, we actually saw a 13% increase in this fraudulent activity. Probably kind of motivated by that that ability to easily commercialize this from a fraudulent perspective, but also I'm sure COVID has had an impact where more and more, especially e-commerce activities are going online now, and moving from the from the high street, and that's obviously motivating nefarious actors from performing fraudulent activity. So in my world, Amar, in our world, it is an unfortunate situation that this seems to be increasing. But as we'll talk about today, by really seeing what's inside your traffic, not just across Google search, but all of your paid acquisition channels, not only can you optimize and save ad spend, but there are many more kind of commercial benefits down the line that we'll go into hopefully as we go through these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Pete. I suppose over to you, Josh. Can you tell us a little bit about Incubeta and I suppose your thoughts on click fraud from an agency angle? Is it something that clients have experienced? Is it something that you guys have found that you've had to deal with, or has it not really come up much? How do you kind of see it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think click fraud for us has been something that, especially in the last kind of year or so, has become much more prevalent. I think in the past across our industry, it's been quite easy to turn a blind eye to it. I think there's been a lot of inbuilt platform solutions where you can just kind of put that on, and there wasn't too much data mining going into performance or what's running. And so it's something that you kind of knew was there, but no one was really actively pushing towards in a really keen manner. However, I think with the movements towards better measurement systems these days, much more going on in terms of automation in each platform, I think it's something that for me is becoming way more of an impact. I think someone that we should be pushing a lot more as an industry, and as an agency, we would encourage everyone to go forward and to kind of use partners as much as possible, because the inbuilt tools are good and they're definitely a good start, but you're kind of letting Google and teams like that mark their own homework. And so by using a partner such as yourselves at PPC Protect, I think it opens up a lot more opportunities to understand what's going on and to kind of make change off the back of that. That can really help you within your digital marketing.
Cool. Yeah. Well, obviously, I suppose we couldn't agree more, really. Probably safe to say, but I think it's.
I'll keep the plugs quiet.
I think you say though, in the last couple of years, I think we found more and more people have kind of realised that this is an actual, a real problem. It is an issue. It's not just it's not made up by companies, So that's interesting to hear. Pete, back to you then. A little bit on this kind of results that you found with the companies that PPC Protect work with. How have they found it? Have they noticed a big difference when applying a solution, in our space? What's kind of been the overall sort of results that people have seen?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because when people think about kind of preventing click fraud, and by the way, we obviously work with partners like Incubeta. We also work directly with companies as well. And the results, whether working with agencies or with direct, it first can be seen on the surface as kind of, well, we can save money, right? So people who were probably non-human clicks to ads that we're never going to convert, you're not paying for those clicks anymore. So and you're not getting a kind of a refund from Google, which kind of, do you get a refund or don't you? We just eliminate that ad being displayed in the first place. So the first value there is just saving your ad spend and re-optimizing that back into your ads, or your agency re-optimizing that back into their ads on your behalf to generate more kind of commercial benefit, right? But there are a couple of really kind of, I would say even possibly more impactful things that cleaning your inbound traffic can actually serve, right? So you've got that savings on the ad spend, but any click that does get through that's non-converting, not just fraudulent, but just basically has no intention of converting, if that gets through to your funnel, that becomes exponentially more expensive to identify it and to mitigate it, and especially if a human being's involved. So we actually stop all of those downstream costs of trying to identify what is a bad visitor, basically. So that's another benefit besides ad spend savings. And another one is actually kind of, if you clean out your ad traffic, then what you're left with is actually this unknown cohort of traffic that you don't really know what's in your traffic. Ad networks don't really let you see what's in the traffic that doesn't convert. By actually analyzing that traffic, not only can you clean out the stuff you don't want, but you can start to optimize on the things that you do want. That can actually not only optimize your paid acquisition strategies, but actually help you to start to identify your ICP in a more of an accurate way, right? So we actually see not only our direct clients being able to get closer and closer to their ICP by filtering out, as you say, Mark, filtering out the bad stuff and optimizing for the good stuff, but also our agency partners are able to provide even more value to their clients by kind of knowing that the campaigns that they're running on their behalf are being fed by clean data. I don't know whether, Josh, if that's something that you found with the Incubeta. We've certainly heard that from other partners.
Yeah, definitely. I think the value that you gain from using a partner like this, it filters off into so many different ways. You've got, as you mentioned, the really obvious, you're getting rid of these people who who are never going to purchase and replacing them with people who could purchase. So you're likely to see a conversion rate go up from there, and then that kind of return on that will just be beneficial in terms of ROAS and kind of the revenue you are pulling through. But I think there's also so many different paths as an agency or someone who buys media that you can gain from this. As you mentioned, your optimizations are likely to get a lot better because you're only optimizing towards this quality traffic. I feel that your reporting is going to become stronger because you are giving much more visibility to people. And I think as media buyers and people who work with in digital media all the time, we understand a lot of these areas, but there can be a little bit of like trust issues with those who are higher up and who are not in digital. So I think the more open we are about chatting about these issues and saying that we are making strides towards that, that opens up all these new avenues of this extra trust that can filter through into loads of different ways from that for media management. And I find that's a really good benefit of it, because you talk to these head of finances or head of marketing and they're really interested in this, and their eyes light up around this more than kind of other marketing areas that we do, and that can get that extra buy-in. And then one other thing I think I'll probably want to call out is that budget area you talked about. Yeah. And as you can do so much thing with that extra budget. If you put it back into the same areas, you can really drive that revenue. But I would be tempted to suggest to people that this is a really good way to unlock budget for areas that you haven't been able to before. Yeah. Like if you've always wanted to do a test into a new partner, but you haven't got this stream of it's going to generate this X revenue, it can be difficult to get the buy-in from the company. And so if you are able to take this budget, which you had already, maneuver it into a new area that you wanted to test out without seeing any downside of losing that budget where you had it before, it can lead to even more things down the line. You run with this new partner and you find an uplift there, and that allows you to budget down the other areas. Or, I'm obviously from a social background, so I want to push people towards trying more upper funnel stuff. So if you can save budget in one area and push it to that area, you can prove the effects of that. So I think that's another area that I would definitely kind of call out as something that could be an added benefit beyond the kind of obvious revenue gains that you would get.
Yeah, Josh, that's really interesting, because one of the things we do in terms of identifying what invalid traffic is, we have all kinds of kind of analysis on the behavior of different types of traffic, and we can do that by company size or by kind of industry, for example. So as an agency, if you have let's say e-commerce customers or financial services customers that are using click fraud and analyzing that traffic so you can protect yourself from the bad traffic. When you then recruit another financial services client on, you already have this lake of analysis that's already in place that you can automatically protect them without having to, quote, learn how their traffic behaves. You already know because you have a very similar adjacent type client as well. So that onboarding hopefully is a lot more seamless,
Yeah, definitely. As an agency, that's a real big added benefit to be able to have that list there already. It just, you can't, that's months you're saving a client. So for sure.
Mark, can I just touch on as well? We talk about multiple channels of paid acquisition, so not just paid search.
I was going to say, actually, this is probably something that you can see Josh's eyes light up a little bit there, because he's always been kind of focused on Google, which is understandable. It's the biggest platform, and most people advertise on Google. So, but having it available to these other channels, especially from your point of view, Josh, is hopefully going to be a bit of a game changer, really, isn't it? So
yeah, definitely. I'm really lamely excited about it becoming much more into the social space. I think everyone knows the problems with social in terms of trust. There's so many news stories around frauds, like the US elections, everything like that. It's obviously such a massive issue across the social space, and it's been slightly lagging behind because it's a newer channel in terms of marketing for the solutions that are available. So I think from what we see, display has a really high kind of fraudulent activity, slightly higher than what we see from search. And I would imagine kind of from the numbers that we've been seeing, again, kind of social being higher than that. And I think especially for us, because what we want to be doing is using social and the display channels and YouTube or whatever to in the strengths that it does have by getting new people onto site, using it in engagement campaigns. And those are the ones that fraud has a lot more potential to get into, because that extra layer of do they convert isn't taken into account for the optimizing. So these great campaigns that you should be running, and we encourage everyone to run, they're even more rife for fraud. And so the changes that you can make there compared to what we're even seeing now could be so much larger. So that, for me, obviously I'm biased, but social, I'm very excited about the movements there. We've seen great results in search, great results in display, and the social signs so far are really strong, and I can't wait to see kind of where it all goes from here.
That's great, Josh. Well, we agree with you completely. I think, people, there's social is such an untapped potential because people are kind of dipping the toe in it right now because they're not really sure how it's going to go. I think, again, by integrating some click fraud prevention technology in there for clients, what we can do there, going back to this behavioral analysis, is we can kind of centralize the behavior that we analyze on one platform so we can apply it to all the others. So if we know that there is fraudulent behavior on the Google platform or on the Microsoft platform, we can take all of that data and apply it to TikTok and apply it to Facebook or whatever. So again, it provides, for agency clients, provides this, I guess, layer of a little bit more confidence that your data is already being analyzed and cleaned even before, so you can decide to go onto a new platform. Relatively safe in the knowledge that the traffic that you're going to be having on that platform is as near as it can be to the traffic that is likely to convert, which comes back to all of the KPIs that you were mentioning you can provide to clients to be able to say, hey, look, the values we're getting here is based on pretty accurate data because it gets pre-cleaned, if you like, before it hits the ad.
Yeah, definitely. Believe it or not, we are kind of hitting that sort of 20-minute mark soon, guys. I know it's gone fast and quick, but I suppose just to kind of sum up, really, a question for both of you, really, but what would you recommend businesses do to kind of mitigate ad fraud from your side of the story, Pete, and then also from an agency point of view as well? But Josh, I'll let you go first this one.
Yeah, sure. I think for us, I think definitely working with a partner is really important. I think there's so much gains you can have from there. They're often very open to running trials to test it, to see what the effect is in your account, because the way that your account structure is going to impact the fraud you're seeing. If it's really heavy into brand and shopping, that's where we see the most fraud. So you're going to have a much bigger impact there, whereas someone else may have not as much impact. So it's really important to find out what it means to you. And then I would say it's a continual process. Once you've got that answer and you know it's for you, it's not something that sadly is overnight fixed. You've got to build it into your whole strategy. If you're going into Black Friday, there's really high levels of fraud there. So you should have been planning for the fraud coming into that and have a strategy for months in advance. And what we do is we look to keep fraudulent numbers, the decrease in fraud that's coming through within QSRs and monthly meetings that go to more senior people, just to have that continued buy-in and to have that tracker to say when we first joined, it was at 26%. We're now down at 7%. That's carrying on. This is the areas that we're bringing in now. And then from there, you've got that continued buy-in and you can see the results. And it's just really clear to see the benefits that are there.
Cool.
Great.
Pete?
Great. Thanks, Josh. Yeah. Nothing more to add really to Josh, other than to say that, the first step really is understanding what is in your traffic stream. So, whether it's a click fraud prevention platform or just there are things you can take a look at, and we're happy to share with you some of the things that you can take a look at yourself. There are kind of indicators of potential issues you may have in your traffic stream. But otherwise, we have a 2-week kind of audit that we can take a look at your traffic. We won't stop anything. We'll just take a look at it and see what's good and bad, and you guys can make the decision from there. But I think it's important, as we said in the first slide, where this is on the increase, and these guys are getting very sophisticated. It's probably worthwhile just to check what's in your traffic stream. That's what I would suggest you to get started.
Good stuff. Perfect. Great. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for today, and I hope everyone's found that something useful in there. I suppose just want to wrap up really. Like I said before, this is going to be available on demand, so you can get a recording as and when you need it. I suppose a little bit of feedback for us as well, because we know that there's a lot of topics we can speak on in terms of PPC and socials and all that kind of stuff. So if there's anything in particular anybody would like us to kind of cover, any topics for future webinars or fireside chats, please do let us know. You can get in touch with us via our live chat on ppcprotect.com, and then obviously we'll be happy to take those suggestions and see if we can make it work. But for today, I think that is pretty much it. Pete, Josh, thanks again, and hope to see you all on the next one. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.